Hello and welcome to another episode of Tang Soo Do Focus, a podcast concerning all things related to the Korean martial art of Tang Soo Do. My name is Steve Patterini, subbing in, and I will be your host. Today's episode, number 4, will be on the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do and their meaning, philosophy, how we might employ them in our daily lives. So let's get started. I would say that most of the Tang Soo Do schools and academies I've been to all around the country, and I'm sure around the world, hanging somewhere on the wall in the training space is a poster or a flyer of some kind that has the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do that are often bookended by the 5 codes of Tang Soo Do, which we might go over in a future episode. In a previous episode, we talked about the student creed. And once again, I would say something about student creed, having tenets, having codes, is one of those things that separates martial arts and Tang Soo Do in particular from other athletic activities, if you will. Certainly, you can achieve benefits from, say, weightlifting at a gym on a regular basis or doing aerobics. Nobody ever referred to weightlifting as weightlifting arts, but we call our training martial arts. Certainly, exercises, something like playing tennis or what have you, is a social outlet. It's good for your head. It gets your endorphins going. It's good for your cardiovascular health and muscles and all those other things, and probably receive some of the same benefits that we get through training in our martial art. But the fact that at the beginning of every training session we recite that student creed, and that on the wall in front of us are the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do and the 5 codes of Tang Soo Do, seems to me it's giving us somewhat of a higher purpose, more of a philosophy. Saying that creed and reading the 7 tenets is kind of like making it manifest to our lives and our impact on the world. And it's just, again, I think it makes us something separate from other physical activities, athletic activities, if you will. Funny thing is, I just listened back to that last segment as I spoke quickly. It sounded like I said the word tenants. And of course, tenants are people who rent from a landlord, either a commercial space or a residential space. But we're not talking about tenants. We're talking about a tenet. And to be honest, I've studied the tenets and memorized them at more than one point, and taught on them and pointed them out as a example during class. But I went online and looked up in the dictionary. A tenet is a principle or belief, especially one of the main principles of a religion or philosophy. Once again, I don't want to push Tang Soo Do as being a religious endeavor, but certainly there is a philosophy behind martial arts, and Tang Soo Do in particular. So I would refer to our tenets as principles or beliefs that we in Tang Soo Do hold closely and wish to instill in our students and review during our training. So here are the 7 tenets. I said it correct that time. 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do: integrity, concentration, perseverance, respect and obedience, self-control, humility, and indomitable spirit. So there are the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do. Respect and obedience. I suspect that was some kind of a translation thing where the Korean word for respect and obedience is probably something, one word, and it kind of means both of those things. And to translate it correctly to English, I don't know that, but I'm just kind of guessing, or just thinking that might be why that's a 2 words. So maybe there really are 8 tenets, but respect and obedience, that middle one, has 2 sort of different thoughts or different things, in English at least. as I mentioned, for Dan testing or maybe even other lower ranks, or certainly a Kodansha, you would be required to memorize the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do. And of course, since they are one or at the most 2 words each, not terribly difficult. But if you don't read them in order, in sequence regularly, you might forget. One of my little tricks, because I'm a simple-minded man, was, of course, to use the first letter in each one of the 7 tenets. And ICP, integrity, concentration, and perseverance. 2 things I think of ICP. One, there's a root beer brand that is delicious, highly recommended. And there's also a 90s extreme gangster rap group called Insane Clown Posse, which I don't necessarily recommend, but they are referred to as ICP by their fans. So ICP is something that was easy for me to remember. Maybe we'll lean more towards the root beer than the rap group. And then the next few things, again, that 4th one, respect and obedience. So that's RO, and then self-control, the S, H for humility, and I for indomitable spirit, spells out Roshi, which to me sounds like a character from Pokemon or The Last Airbender or something like that. So ICP Roshi is my way of remembering the 7 tenets and getting them in the proper sequence. Maybe that helps you, maybe that doesn't, but it's just a little trick that I used to help me remember the 7 tenets. So let's begin with integrity, which again, integrity to me would mean honesty, reliability, that you keep your word, that you're honest in your interactions with people. Integrity is somebody you would want to do business with, somebody you would trust handing over your car keys to, somebody that you would let stay at your house, that you know they are reliable and that they are honest and that they keep their word. And I think the world could use a little more integrity. People without integrity change their position, change their moral compass on a regular basis, and kind of whichever way the wind is blowing might be the way their particular response or position on something might be. Whereas people with integrity are steadfast, you know where they stand, like them or not. You may not always agree with them, politically or in their religion or what have you, but if they have integrity, I think that's something that's worthy of respect, and at least you know where that person stands. There's no artifice to them. So that would be how I would define integrity. Here again, I looked it up in the dictionary, and integrity is defined as the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness. So I think I, maybe in a more rambling way, said just those things about integrity. Number 2, concentration. And again, since I have my dictionary app open, concentration, according to the dictionary, is the action or power of focusing one's attention or mental effort. Kind of ironic that the title of this podcast is Tang Soo Do Focus, and I was looking to have that dual meaning where the focus of the podcast obviously is on all things related to the martial art of Tang Soo Do, but also Tang Soo Do Focus is something that we practice, blocking out distractions, paying attention, being able to give our undivided attention and our whole mind, body, and spirit to one thing at a time, and to not be distracted. Paying attention to our instructors and our teachers, and honestly, paying attention to ourselves, our body position, looking in the mirror, paying attention to what you're doing, your space that your body is in. When you're working in close quarters, sparring or spinning around a staff, it's a really good thing to pay attention to the things around you. You don't crack a mirror or the ceiling or one of your fellow students. So concentration, focus would be kind of in the same vein. Number 3, perseverance. Perseverance, according to the dictionary, is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. I love that because let's face it, in Tang Soo Do, we don't give out black belts like they're in a Cracker Jack box. I can't think of any places where you can get one in less than 4 years, which is about the same amount of time it takes to get a bachelor's degree in college. And for some of us, it might take many years more, myself included. So persistence, not quitting, not giving up, just continuing to move on, overcome, and move past any obstacles. And again, listen, life is full of challenges. So having perseverance and persisting through difficulties is a definitely laudable goal and tenet of our martial art. Next, we have that 2-word tenet, respect and obedience. I think we all know what respect is, and we show proper respect by bowing. And certainly it is a foundational aspect of all martial arts, I believe. But looking it up in the dictionary, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others, which is kind of an interesting way of putting it. So respect would be to, again, have regard for, empathy for. I want to use the word respect in defining the word respect, but yes, I think we all kind of know it when we see it. And of course, obedience, I think in terms of, even though you might not be sure exactly what your instructor is trying to do, go with it. Now, certainly obedience is not blind obedience, and you wouldn't want to do something criminal or inappropriate at the bequest of your teacher or instructor. But I think that a lot of times coaches, martial arts instructors are going to do things that are going to seem a little strange, that you might not understand at the time. They might not be very fun, but taking that respect and obedience aspect and just saying, all right, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I will do these unusual activities. And I think further down the road, you will find that they were probably beneficial and with your growth and development in mind. So respect and obedience. That's another important tenet. Number 5, self-control. I mean, if you're not in control of yourself, what are you in control of? We certainly can't control the circumstances of the world around us. I can remember a wise older gentleman one time saying to me, you can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you react or respond to it. And that would be a good example of self-control. We often talk a lot in Tang Soo Do about self-discipline. Self-control and self-discipline are very similar. I would argue that there might be some differences to them. But once again, self-control is something that you want to just, again, be in control of yourself. And again, I think some of our philosophies talk about how, mind, spirit, body, and that the mind kind of controls the others. We are scholar warriors, and so the mind is more important than the body. The mind is in control, and the mind and the spirit together can actually cause the body to do things that you might not think you're actually able to do when you're exhausted and tired, and you convince yourself to push out a few more kicks or a few more push-ups. That would be a good example of self-control and the mind over the body. Number 6, humility. And I think that one thing I have found over my 26 plus years of training is you get a good dose of humility in pretty much every class. You always find something that you can't do, that you'd like to do, something you'd want to improve upon. If you don't feel any humility, I would say videotape yourself. Have somebody hold your phone and videotape you doing your latest form or weapon routine, and take a look at it. And I think the word cringeworthy would be appropriate, where you're just going to look at it, and if you're anything like me, you're going to see all the mistakes and maybe not even be able to watch it more than once. So having humility is admitting, hey, you're not all that great, that you definitely have not learned everything. And, there's a balance there between humility and having self-confidence. And self-confidence is certainly something you need to have. But that humility aspect, it's kind of, again, a balancing act. We talk about yin and yang, being balanced. In our association, Pyonghwa Kunin, Pyonghwa is peaceful calm, trying to find that balance in our lives. So I would say that you definitely want to have humility. And oftentimes we have the 7 tenets on the wall in front of us as we're training in my particular dojo. And every now and again, we'll work on a form or do some activity and, let's say, not perform as well as we would have hoped. And I'll look to the student to my left or my right, and I'll just point up at the banner and go, number 6. And we'll just kind of chuckle to ourselves because, that was our humility, was doing that form and it not going nearly as well as we had hoped. So I think that that's good for us to have humility in our lives, and certainly in our training. Number 7, indomitable spirit. Indomitable. And again, I already kind of know what this means, but I went ahead and opened up the dictionary app. And indomitable is impossible to subdue or defeat. And I thought, wow, that's perfect. Impossible to subdue or defeat. In other words, look, there is no quitting in Tang Soo Do. There is no giving up. You will not stop, no matter what, and that you're going to see things through, and that you're not going to cave in at the first sign of trouble or difficulty. And even though we may get frustrated, and even though it may take a long time, that we are going to see things through to the end. So having indomitable spirit means you're not going to quit. And again, that's something you can apply in many, many aspects of your life. And I think that practicing it in your martial arts will benefit you greatly in your personal life throughout. So once again, these tenets are guidelines of Tang Soo Do and things we strive to achieve. Of course, we're not always going to achieve them 100% of the time. We are all, as human beings, a work in progress. But I think just, again, manifesting those, speaking them out loud, reading them, thinking about what they mean and what they mean in your current situation or current daily life is a very beneficial thing. If I have listeners who are parents of children training in martial arts, and again, you may have signed them up for all the many benefits you can get from Tang Soo Do. Again, if you were to describe your child, would you like them to have integrity, where they were honest and had moral fortitude? Absolutely. Would you like them to have the ability to concentrate and focus themselves? With our little dragons, a lot of times just getting the little guys to stand still and a chumbi or a attention stance. That's half the class right there. And I can tell you, as a teacher of over 22 years of middle schoolers, I thank you as parents in advance for giving your children experience in focus and concentration. It will benefit them greatly in their learning and in their future lives. Perseverance. So many kids quit at the first sign that they're not successful at something. They try something new, and once the shine is worn off, they're on to the next thing. They want to play soccer, they want to play lacrosse, they want to play the guitar, and you end up with a bunch of sports equipment and musical equipment stuck in the basement somewhere that never gets used again. Requiring your child to continue to train and see things through. Rank advancement initially usually is in a 3-month cycle, but you get to a certain point, I think in our school it's around green belt, it starts becoming a 6-month cycle. That's a long time between belts for little kids. And then, needless to say, when you become a Dan member, those periods between advancement become much greater. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, many, many years. So having that perseverance instilled in you at a young age is awesome. Respect and obedience. I mean, I don't even think I need to speak to that. Having a respectful and obedient child is going to make your life easier as a parent. You're going to feel better with their interactions with other adults, parents of their friends or their teachers, instructors, coaches, what have you. And that's just all good stuff. Self-control. Once again, as a middle school teacher, I can absolutely say that a certain population of our students have little, or we'll say limited, self-control, and it is to their detriment. It impacts their social interactions. It impacts negatively their learning, and a lot of other things. Humility. Again, you don't want a kid who has a big head and arrogant and thinks they're great. Nobody wants a little cocky kid mouthing off and thinking that they're the greatest thing in the world. A little bit of humility would do them right. And the indomitable spirit. Again, perseverance and indomitable spirit, kind of cousins. They actually in some ways overlap, but that not quitting, that seeing things through to the end, that unable to be defeated or deterred, I think is something that, these are all things that we would love to see in our children. But not all of us are children, and not all of us are worried about schoolwork and playing soccer or what have you. As an adult, having integrity at your work, having integrity in your life, in your marriage, in your interrelations with friends. I think that can be nothing but beneficial to you. Being able to concentrate, having perseverance, seeing things through, being respectful to people around you. These are all things that are going to reap great benefits in your personal life, in your professional life. Self-control, humility, and once again, there we are at the indomitable spirit. Those are things that are going to make you a great employee. They're going to make you a good wife or a husband, a partner, a parent. If you work outside of as a coach or some sort of a scout leader or other position where you're working with children or others, some kind of charitable organization. Let me tell you, all of these are great aspects to have in your personality. And, if you were to hear somebody describe you as somebody who had great integrity, or they have a lot of perseverance, or wow, they're a really humble person, they have a lot of humility, I would take that as a massive compliment. So certainly these are things we strive for in our martial arts training, but again, we try to carry them out into the world with us, and make the world a better place. The people around us, certainly ourselves, and by extension, do our small part in the world to change things for the better and make the world a more positive place. I don't think anybody could argue with that. So a quick review. A tenet is a principle or belief, one of the main principles of a religion or philosophy, or in our case, a martial art. So that is a principle or belief, and these are the 7. Once again, the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do are integrity, concentration, perseverance, respect and obedience, self-control, humility, and indomitable spirit. And I think if we put a little bit of more of those in our lives and out into the world, that we can do nothing but benefit from that. Once again, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention and listening to my podcast, Tang Soo Do Focus. This is episode 4 on the 7 tenets of Tang Soo Do. Please share this podcast, like it, subscribe, all those good things. If there's somebody that is like-minded and might benefit from listening to these words, then please go ahead and share it as best you can. And I look forward to having you join me in future episodes where I will begin to talk more about technique and things like that versus just a philosophy of Tang Soo Do. But I think this is a good way to get started and good foundational understanding of what we're about before we start talking about blocking and punching and kicking. So once again, thank you for your time, and Tang Soo.